testimony is that the Lord is faithful, and I'm constantly seeing him work in ways that I'm like, man, I'm so thankful I'm here. I'm so thankful I have an amazing church, an amazing family. I get to be a part of a community of believers.
What's up, podcast world? It's your boy AA Ron and Christian in the podcast studio.
Oh yeah!
If you know the reference, shout out JP.
Shout out JP. Yeah.
We have got a great episode planned for you today. I'm gonna hand it over to my man Christian to introduce our guest.
So we got an amazing guest. This is actually my barber. His name is Dustin. He is an amazing dude. So cool. So you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you for that. And I am an amazing barber.
Yeah, you are.
Just kidding.
How do you think this looks so good?
you got to show him the easiest haircut that I do all day. This isn't my fight. No, I'm just kidding. No, but thank you guys for having me on. This is awesome.
Of course. So glad to have you on. Yeah, I've been wanting to get you on for a while.
Nice.
So yeah, kind of when we started this, I was like, "You're on my list."
Wait, hold on. Are we sure? Because I did beg you to.
No.
I think if I remember correctly, it was me asking if I could come on the show. But
I feel like that's the story I heard behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I actually am paying a lot of money to be here right now.
Shh! Don't say that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no!
Wait, we're paying him, but not Katrina.
Katrina's my girlfriend. She's here behind the scenes all the time.
Hey, Katrina, if you're here and we need to talk.
a lot of the like short form content. She's our tripod. She's doing all the stuff for us. She's doing the photography, so
it's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. So cool.
Nothing like a good woman. You will learn that more and more.
Oh yeah.
So
all right, you got.
Yeah, I've got an icebreaker for you guys. So you said you're into video games.
Very much.
Me and him are into a lot of movies. He's also into video games. If you could live in one fictional world from like a movie, a video game, something like that, what world would you choose?
Oh, this is easy, hands down. Halo. I would live in 2552. But it's, man, I could go down a whole rabbit hole. And I don't think that's what you want me to be here to talk about. So it depends on how much you want. But yes, that would be the world. And I already have a scenario like already planned out. So 500 years from now, when that happens, I'm already ready. So
what's the scenario?
So, well, basically, I would become a Spartan 4, like because if you've played the games, you know that eventually they develop the technology where then basically anybody can become a Spartan, and including like I was reading the newest Halo book that just came out the other day, and there was a guy who literally was paralyzed, wanted to be a Spartan. They were able to give him a whole new structural, like bones, everything, completely fix him up so he could become a Spartan. So I just figured, well, if they could do that to him, they could surely do it to me. And so, but so that's of course I want to be a Spartan, and
that'd be pretty cool,
and shoot elites and brutes and. This is, again, probably not what you want in your podcast.
No. We love this stuff.
But yeah, so that, I mean, yeah, it'd have to be that. That's me and the chief, man.
Cool. That'd be pretty cool.
Killing it.
Yeah, I don't know what mine would. There's so many different like worlds that it would be so cool to live in. I know like the Spider-Man universe, that would be so cool to be in. Because there's the game Spider-Man, which I love the game Spider-Man. That one's so good. And then you got the movie Spider-Man, which also is so amazing.
Being Spider-Man would be insane.
That was so cool.
Right.
And then I think Minecraft would be that one would just be fun to like walk around to get used to.
Well, I think aren't they making a movie about it? Yeah. So I mean, you'll get to see firsthand what it's gonna be like.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Have you seen the trailer for it?
I just saw it yesterday, and I was like, because I'm not a Minecraft player, but I want to see the movie. I've been getting enough just people getting onto me for not trying Minecraft. I've played it once, and a friend of mine built this probably 300-story tower to which I
gosh.
just gradually went in and was taking pieces out and just in random places, hoping that he would just like a year later stumble like, who destroyed this one section of my tower?
That's funny.
That was my that was my Minecraft experience, and so I need to try again, but. And maybe this is my like entry point, back into it. But so I did see it yesterday, and it looks really good,
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
it does it?
I don't know.
I don't.
Okay.
Are you
like
a Minecraft
it.
player?
I played. That's the one video game I played growing up.
Yeah.
I was not a video game player, but I did play that.
I played
I just
that.
don't think the movie looks all that good.
I don't know. I've played it since since I was like 7 or 8 years old. So I've played this since like the OG days of Minecraft. And I think a lot of people are mistaking the movie for the Minecraft movie. It's just a Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people need to not hate on it so much.
Are you all talking to each other in subliminal messages right now?
We've already had this conversation.
You're like, we kept that off the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I get as a Halo fan, like I hated the show.
Oh, you did?
And I didn't actually hate the show. I hated that it was a Halo show.
Oh, okay.
Like if they changed all the characters' names, they were all archetypes from people from the lore. And as a Halo lore nerd who's like read the books and everything, I was cool with that. But Master Chief, they kept the same name, and he is nothing like the actual Master Chief. So to me, I was very frustrated as a Halo fan. Yeah. Whereas if they would have made him Tim 344, I would have been fine, But John 117, he can't, you got to do him somewhat justice. So I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I watched that show when it first came out. I thought it was good, but I haven't ever played Halo. So,
well, most people that haven't played the game love it.
Yeah,
so,
I did.
And it was, to me, well, I shouldn't say love it, but really liked it.
I did hear that a lot of people that played it did not like it.
Yes.
So
it's just we've been waiting for Master Chief to come to our screen since 2001.
Yeah.
And it's not happened. So when he does and he takes his mask off in 5 minutes, you're just like, thank you for ruining what we've been waiting on for, just as cheaply as you can do it, But I will say the second would be, I play a lot of the game Sea of Thieves, and it would be awesome to be a pirate just in that world. So that would be my honorable mention to your question. But but I think I'd have to go Halo, just to be in that world.
Yeah. So. What about you?
I am gonna have to go Star Wars and be a Jedi Knight.
Oh, yeah. That's
get trained to be a Jedi Knight, bro. That is.
No, I'd be a Sith. I would hands down be a Sith.
Well, great, because I'd be a gray Jedi.
You're supposed to.
I would be.
You're supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
I am Anakin Skywalker.
Kind of look like him.
Hey,
move over, man.
He just needs the little braid that goes down his shoulder.
We can arrange that next time.
Okay, yeah, I'll let my hair grow out, and you can cut it just perfectly.
You just see the morphing in the podcast.
I just slowly become a Sith
and the hair grows, and then the next you come in one time, and your eyes are bloodshot.
I just joined the dark side. Trust me, that's all it is.
You walk in, you're like,
down, and your journey to the dark side will be complete.
You walk in, you're like, I just went to the nursery, and all the kids are dead. What happened? Little Chapel's got a breaking news.
Oh man, that's funny.
Living out the Star Wars dream, I guess.
Yeah. A little much, yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
that's a great icebreaker.
I love it.
That's incredible.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh man. Okay, so I guess we'll just jump into the first questions.
Yeah.
So you are a barber, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is that like for you? Like, how did you get into being a barber?
Well, so that's a long answer, but really, honestly, I was just looking for a job that, I'm a worship leader at my church and very involved with our community of worship leaders. And on top of that, just playing my own music, things like that. I just wanted something that allowed me more time, really. And my brother, who is now my pastor, was wanting to, he was also kind of wanting to transition. I worked at Blue Cross and Blue Shield at the time. He worked at Hyatt, both on the phones, both pretty set schedule. We both just wanted some flexibility, and his father-in-law is a barber. And so he said, have you thought about being a barber? And I was like, honestly, I had never been interested. A lot of people cut people's hair at home. I never did. My first haircut was in barber school.
Wow.
So like I had no real
experience with it.
Nothing. I was just like, well, I want to do something I do know that you kind of get to set your own hours and those kind of things. Right. And then, so I did, but then I went and talked to, shout out, Mr. Aaron Boyd, who works in Heron. He is barber at the Cherry Street Barbers, and he's also a pastor at the Spark down. Lord, I shouldn't do this on the podcast. Down south, like McClure area. But anyway, I asked him. I went and got a haircut from him, and I was like, how. Like, what is, being a barber with ministry? Like, how does it work? And he said, dude, it's the best job because, like, one, yeah, you get the time off, but two, like, the amount of people that if someone needs to talk to you, they can just come get a haircut and talk to you. Right. And you can be, like, nobody can tell you what to say and what not to say. Yeah. And then, he said, so you can minister behind the chair. So to me, that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And then, from there, I've done it, and it really has become more of that. Like, I really enjoy the craft of it, kind of the artsmanship, I guess is the word, of it. But meeting people like you, the conversations we've had over the years, like those kind of meeting people, becoming friends with your clients, and,
Wild Bill.
And Wild Bill. Actually, funny enough, the day I met with Aaron to talk about that, it's the first day I met Wild Bill too,
really?
Which is its own story. It was just a really cool, to me, it started really as just to give me an excuse to be able to take off work. But really, it's grown into more of just like, I love. And I'll say in the last couple of years especially, it's really become more of something I'm more passionate about. I think originally I was still waiting for that moment to like, okay, I'm just going to do music full time. But I feel like more and more, it's more of a calling than it used to be. And I don't just say that because I'm on a podcast. Really, I think it's what I have an opportunity to do with guys that are going through things. It's just really cool. So to me, that's kind of what not only started it, but what's kept me in it. I'm about to hit 8 years.
Wow.
So same shop, and I just love it.
Shout out Berg's Parlor Shop.
Yeah.
In West Frankfort.
Yes.
You should go there if you want a haircut.
I didn't say it, but you heard the man.
I've never gone with anyone but him.
That is true. Yeah. So he says.
Who cut your hair before he did?
Because I'm pretty sure it was my mom.
So you went to somebody else, technically.
Technically. Hey, it's all right.
I was like, you're almost 20 and he's only been in it for 8 years. Somebody cut your hair besides him.
No.
Oh, no. When he came in, it was to the floor. It was, he was saving himself for me the whole time.
I knew I knew the world's best barber was coming.
I didn't know who he was yet. But
yeah, just had to wait.
Let the Lord lead you, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So kind of leading into the next one, you're talking about music a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've listened to like all of your music, so good. But let's hear like how you got into that.
Yeah, he showed me some of it before this. It's pretty good, man.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, so I kind of come from both a musical family and a musical church, so it's kind of, which is a lot of that runs together because a lot of my family was doing the music of the church. So it's kind of, you could say the same thing, but even before my family was at my current church and where I've went my whole life, they've always had great music. It's just been like kind of a staple of the church. But my family is extremely musical, and it's really, I mean, everybody, and they've been, you know, I have members that are in bands that are, you know, make a living off music. I have, you know, uncles that have played for everyone and, you know, their dog, you know, I've really been blessed with that. But then, you know, growing up in church, my dad was a pastor. My brother has now been our pastor for 2 years, but before that, my dad pastored for 27 years. And then before that, my grandpa was the pastor. I don't remember how long, but so my entire life, my family has pastored our church.
That's awesome.
And so also my entire life, my mom has been the music director at our church.
Oh, wow.
And it's all been, you know, and so, and we kind of came like, you know, we go to a Pentecostal church, and kind of with that, the music has always been more of like a black gospel feel, you know, choirs and like, you know, more kind of an R&B, like gospel jazzy edge, you know. Right. So I grew up playing the drums. I played my first church service at 7.
Wow.
And so I've always wanted to be in music. And then to make this incredibly long story kind of short, that's kind of what I mean, I just grew up to do, led worship, went to school, traveled around the country doing music at the school that I went to, and got to do some really cool things, lead worship at some NBA stadiums and stuff, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
So cool. Which ones did you get to do that?
North Carolina. So they were the Bobcats at the time. And then, oh gosh. Well, actually, the other one was in Nashville, so the Predators. So it wasn't really an NBA stadium. That one was a hockey stadium, but you know,
still pretty cool.
Yeah, but so got some really cool opportunities there. But then came home. God called me back home, and that's its own story. And you know, I fought it for a little bit, and but what the Lord's done in there, just I'm so thankful that I'm here. But then a couple years ago, actually 2020, when we had time, I just decided it was finally time that I start putting my own stuff out. You know, I've been doing a lot of worship. I'd played for a lot of other people's albums, but I was like, it's time for me to kind of do my own thing. And so that was the beginning of Lee Marie. Yeah. So that is an extremely long version of the short version. So that makes sense.
I think it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the short version, and it's still long. But
so his band name is Lee Marie.
Yep.
So I would we'll put it in like the comment section or not the comment section, the description.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys need to go listen to his band. It's so good.
I appreciate you.
I love Running. That one's like just so good.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I don't do much of it, as you can tell. But so I sing about it.
What you do is good, though.
So do you like write all of your songs?
Most of them, all of the songs I've released so far, except for one, I have been the sole writer or co-writer on.
Nice. That's awesome.
Me and my wife did two. My wife and I did a cover of a song that we sang at our wedding. We released an acoustic version of a song called Magnificent, which I believe was by Martha Menezes. And then I just put out the EP I did for my daughter and wife. I did a song that John Raby, my boss at the barbershop, he wrote. And so that one, I changed one line in it, but I can't call myself a co-writer. But so he wrote that one. Everything else either my wife wrote a song to, and and at that point she was kind of in the band. So everything else is original, I would say. Where I'm actually doing a couple more covers coming up in the next couple months, hopefully.
Yeah.
maybe the next couple years. We'll see how it
Whenever
goes.
you get the time.
No. But yeah, it's pretty much to this point, it's been kind of all originals. I was kind of afraid to do covers at first.
Oh,
Because
really?
I didn't know. I'm like, I can't afford to pay people to do their song.
Right.
And then I realized that that's not all how it works. So, like, you can actually cover someone's work and not be worried about getting sued right off the bat.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's not as complicated as I always assumed it was. So now I'm going to be doing some more covers. But
Nice.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's I enjoy it. I'm not like songwriting, lyric writing is like I don't feel like is my strong suit. I'm more of the music. Like music is what I'm stronger at. And I was actually writing a song yesterday, and did like a live stream of me recording the music. And then when I got done, I was like, I need to work on some of the lyrics, and it's amazing how much harder that is.
Yeah.
It's like I was messaging people like, is this line good? I'm just I'm not great at that, but I do love it. Like it's something that's really, I will say, and I know I'm going again long-winded on this, but I do think like I'm so thankful as a Christian artist because the Lord has really given me lines at times where I know, and I always say it's weird because especially in the last year, every song that I've put out has been so self-reflective, and there's songs that are hard for me to sing on stage. They're really like the Lord convicting me as I sing them. And he's like, you get to sing these songs. You have to which holds me to, it's like his way of trying to keep me accountable and trying to get me, make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do by giving me songs to sing that say that he's helping me get through those things,
Right.
And so, awesome. They've been really, because I'm not a lyric writer, God's really, that sounds cliche, but God's really dropped some lyrics to certain songs in me that I'm like, oh Lord, I don't really want to sing this. So, but I love it. It's fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Didn't you, I think one time when I was getting my haircut, you were talking about the You Are God song, how it like something in the sound system messed up or something, right?
Wow, good call, man.
Isn't that what you
totally
said?
True. So my friend John Donosky, who's incredible engineer, producer, friend of mine, we were working on a song, and it was gonna sound like kind of a typical pop, like anything Hillsong Young and Free did, which the first part of the song kind of sounds that way a little bit.
There was one song, Alive, I think. I was like
very similar.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I can see.
Well, and if you heard the original demo to that song, you'd be like, oh, you just copied Alive. I mean, it's literally from that. I wrote that in that era of music, when I was listening to a lot of Hillsong.
Yeah.
But so we were recording it, and we were trying to do this one thing, and his computer Logic, the program we used, just froze, and it just held a synth note out. And he was just kind of like, oh, what's going on? And then he just, in his head, he was like, you know what, hold on one second. And he like, I don't know if he grabbed his guitar, but I think he started with that note holding out, started playing chords underneath that note holding out. He's like, this could actually turn into a really cool dance song. And me and him are both like EDM junkies. That's like our guilty pleasure. So I was like, do it. So once he shut it down, and it like, you get the whole with Apple, they're like, do you want to recover your work? He's like, yes. We immediately, like the back half of the song, if you listen to it, it's like one song, and then once the bridge hits, it's just a dance song.
Yeah.
And that all came from just a glitch in his computer.
That's so cool.
That's such a cool story.
Yeah.
That's gotta be God right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's so funny.
And to me and him, like I said, it went from something that, like, we listened to a lot of like European techno artists, me and him, and especially when I was writing all that stuff, But to me, I was like, I'm never going to do that kind of music. I just like listening to it. I like listening to the synthesizer stuff and adding some elements to it, but not really for me. So to actually get to do one and just put it out, I was like, man, this is going to throw people for a loop because they've never heard me do anything like that. And but I love it. It's like one of my favorite. And then it's also turned into a great intro. Like if we play live, a lot of times we'll start with the end of You Are God going into the beginning. So
really?
Yeah, so it creates a really cool, I love it. It was one of my favorite happy accidents.
It's so cool. Yeah.
So where do you record your stuff at? Do you have like your own studio?
I do, in a room in my house. Heard the term bedroom pop artist. That is me.
Do you produce your own stuff?
Huh?
Do you produce all the stuff?
Most of it. So back then, so like my early stuff, I would say is 50% me, 50% John. Well, let's be real. It was more like 30% me, 70% John. And he was really the head producer on that, and then I would send him like little demos, and like I'd get it as good as I could get it. But at that time, I was terrible. And going back to 2020, I just one day got really. I actually John had invited me to be a part of this. Like Ryan Tedder from One Republic, lead singer. Yeah. He's written. I mean, most pop artist out there,
right?
From Taylor Swift on, he's written songs for them.
Really? I love Ryan.
So he's awesome. Ridiculous. So he did a songwriting class, and we took it together.
That's
John was
cool.
like, kind of challenged me, like, take this class. So I took it, and then I started watching another guy on YouTube. I started watching everything. I mean, I went on a 2-month production boot camp. Just put myself.
That's super cool.
I didn't touch my Xbox at that time. I just got really locked in, and because that class just inspired me. And when I did, actually, Back to Life, Home, and Rest in You, and like 3 or 4 that still have not come out, all came in that. The music came in that 2-month span.
Wow.
So like it was just like it was coming out and I started sending my stuff to John, and he was like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like he said, I don't know what happened to you in 2 months. Like, and I don't say that. I say that to be, I just got serious. And so now kind of my workflow is I do probably 80 to 85% of it. And then I send it to him. He's the vocal master. So I just send it to him, let him do the vocals. He comps them, tunes them, makes them sound pretty, puts effects. And then he does like the final polish on everything. But now at this point, a lot of times, like if you hear what I send to him, it's not much different than what comes out, which that's why I'm kind of challenging myself. At some point, I want to be I think I could produce the whole thing now,
right?
But it's just this dude's. I mean, if I gave you the list of the people he's worked with, and that it's unbelievable. And so I'm never going to be as good on vocals as he is. So I'm just like, well, you're here. I really want you to do my stuff. So
I have your number. You're a call away. Why not?
Yeah. On the little EP I did for my girls, I told him originally, I said, I'm going to try to do this one because it's for them. I'm just going to try to do my own. Like, I'm going to try to produce the whole thing. And I started working on it, and I was like, nope. I was like, I need you. So
it sounded really good.
No, I
listened to that the other day. I was like, man, this is a good one.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's fun. I got a little studio in my room and with Halo toys all over it. So it's my little man cave. So.
Hey, that's the best. That's the best thing you can do right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Work in an environment you love.
Absolutely. It does change it. Adding, I watched a video, Ryan Tedder, or not Ryan Tedder, I just said him, Tommy Prophet. He did he does like all the cinematic trailers for major like Marvel movies and stuff. And he just did that big Christmas album with all these Christian artists. his studio tour is like, he has this blacked out bat cave. And if you listen to his music, it's all dark remix, like cinematic remixes of pop songs. And I'm like, it totally makes sense. Yeah. I was like, and so, yeah, there's something to like your space, the way you create it affects the way you create in it, so.
Interesting. Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
That has been something I've tried to actually incorporate into my room,
Yeah.
But
that's cool. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the last question.
Go for it, dude.
Okay.
I'm letting you take the reins on this one.
Okay.
You're like, I'm here.
I'll just
most of the people we've had on, I've made the connection. So he made this connection. I'm like, take the reins, boy.
He knows like every single person from everywhere. I don't understand.
Well, it's good to meet you. You know one
it's
more.
It's nice to meet you.
There's one more connection point. Oh man. So going to like the last main point, what is your testimony? Like how did you meet Christ, or just did you grow up with Christ,
I did. I have kind of to some a simple testimony, but really to me it's not been simple by any means. I was, again, pastor's grandkid, pastor's son, pastor's brother now, who I'm older than, which is, I will say this, it was funny. I always tell it, but the first week he was pastor, we've called him JP for years, junior pastor, because when he was like 5, he would get mad if the offering was low. Like, he's just, that was him. And so he would all he couldn't even drive. And when I got my license, he'd get mad at me for parking on like the grass at the church, because I was going to leave like tire marks in the church property. So when he became pastor, we were doing something. He's like, hey, can you move your car? Because it's in blocking where some, the older people were wanting to come through. And I had been unloading some gear, and I was like, well, who's asking? My pastor or my brother? Because I knew he didn't want to answer in front of all these people, your pastor. But I was like, listen, your answer determines whether or not I'm going to go do that. Because if you're asking as my brother, I ain't doing nothing. But anyway, but yeah, I grew up in church. I have so many, I have story after story. When I was 6 years old, having the Lord, like having a major like work done in my teeth and having more pain than I've ever had. I remember calling my grandparents and asking them to come over with my parents and and I told my mom, if you guys and Papa and Nani will pray for me, I know the Lord will heal me. And he did. Took the pain away.
Wow.
I never had pain. Even
Praise
later
God.
on, when I had tooth work or pain all around that tooth and other teeth, like 20 years later, still not had pain in that spot.
Wow.
Because, I experienced really early the power of prayer and just, so I've never been one to struggle about whether God was real or those kind of things. But my struggle has always been wanting to make my own decisions for my life. Like, Lord, I'm so thankful for you being here in my life, but I got this, like, which I think that's a lot of us, like, taking our hands off the wheel, giving it to him, and so
I tried that and I crashed my car.
Right. So I've always known, I always tell the testimony that I like to give, because it's an active testimony, is that, I did have a lot of opportunities, when I was in college and kind of musically and that was all I wanted to do. Like, I wanted music to be, and honestly, I wanted it to be for the Lord. I wanted to, I always wanted to just be a part of ministry, and but that's all I wanted to do. I wasn't interested in anything else. So, like, I didn't want to have another job. I wanted, to make music. I wanted to lead worship. I just wanted to do those things. And just had opportunities to do that on, as I said, bigger stages and really cool things, and early on. And I'll say during those times, there were times where I was not living right on those stages. There were times I was, leaving this stage and then going back and watching things I shouldn't be watching after leading 20,000 people in worship, just, just living a double life, and I always tell the story. I remember one time I was at our school and we had about 300 high school students that were coming to check out the college. It was a Bible school, and they're coming to check it out. And we were doing a concert or worship night, and our music guy asked me to testify, and I had a testimony that I would give, and I was like, the Lord was like, "No, I want you to talk about your pornography addiction." And I was like, "Oh, but it's okay to talk about here." But
no, that's fine. You're fine.
I was like, Lord, I'm not over that. Like, I'm living in that. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, that's all he gave me. So I went out. I remember I sat on the subwoofer that was in front of the pulpit. I just sat down and I just started being real. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm struggling, and I remember giving that testimony and just guy after guy, young high school student after high school student coming to the altar.
Wow.
And God moving. And I remember going back to the back room because I didn't feel any different. I remember getting mad with the Lord. I was like, Lord, but I'm still struggling. Like, and I'll never forget because I've heard the Lord, and they're both tied to my testimony. 2 times the Lord spoken audibly to me and said, because it's not about you. Like, he needed to use me.
Yeah.
And in that, what's amazing is the Lord did deliver me from that after that.
Praise
Once
God.
I was made an overcomer by the blood of the Lamb and the word of my testimony. And so he made, the Bible says it makes you an overcomer. And so it was like he made me through giving that. It wasn't, I was an overcomer. I was made into one. And then years later, I had, and I tell this story a lot. You may have heard it already, but I had a youth pastor find me at a big conference out of nowhere. An old youth pastor who had moved away, but he found me. 20,000 people found me to say the Lord's got there's an opportunity coming your way that the Lord, it's not of the Lord. You're going to think it is, but it's not. It's like, okay. Well, a few years later, I had a pretty prominent Christian artist kind of come up to me and give me an offer that I was excited about.
Yeah.
And then that Sunday, that was on a Saturday night. I was like, oh, here it is. The Lord's finally going to do something with my, and that Sunday morning, I get a call from my old youth pastor. It was 2 years later. Wow. And he goes, remember what I told you 2 years ago at that conference?
My gosh.
He said, I don't know what it is, but there's a door opening right now, and it's not of God for you.
Wow.
And I was angry with God. I was very angry with God. And I remember playing in church that morning, just angry, got through the service, went up to our prayer room, which I would say this, and I think anybody, if you don't hear anything else, I'll talk forever, but if you don't hear anything else, it is better to, when you're angry and upset and questioning, to fall into God than to fall away from God.
Yeah.
It's way better to go to him and say, God, I'm ticked at you. Like, this is stupid. I don't get this. I used some choice words with the Lord that day. I'm not joking. I was like, Lord, mother. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. But I really was like, I don't understand. You're dangling this in front of me, and you're allowing me to even know it, like to know that this is an opportunity that I could take, and you're telling me no.
Yeah.
And when I was done yelling at him, as wonderful and as amazing as he is, it's like I got to see my life, and I got to see it's like he took me in a kind of a vision, and I got to see kind of what I would become. And I was no longer married. I had a lot of issues with that. I was getting off of a stage, a Christian stage, dealing with issues that living a double life. As I had done the first time, I had a little bit of it.
Yeah.
It was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord was, he was like, I'm protecting you. I'm keeping you from what the enemy wants to do with you because you can't handle this, and I fast forward in it this way. About 5 years after that, I'll never forget sitting up it was COVID. It was like our first service back from COVID. And I was teaching our young people because our youth pastor had COVID. And there were 4 kids there that night because like we hadn't had church in months.
Mm-hmm.
And so we only had about 4. Our youth group kind of dwindled. I mean, I think we left, we had like 40 and now we had 4.
Wow.
That first night. But I was teaching on, things that in the spirit the Lord shows you that no one else would understand, like things that happen to you that people would say, oh, that's horrible. But that the Lord has a plan and you're excited,
right.
And to just trust God through those times. And it was actually my brother-in-law who spoke up because I asked him, like, why don't you all give me some examples? And every kid in there gave me, like, to the T what I was talking about. It was like, there's only 4, but 100% of them got the message, which, somebody who tries to deliver and do those things, that's not always the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my brother-in-law who's sitting there, who had come to church that night, he was like, I don't go to church very often, but the one thing I know, he said, my brother and my sister, they could be anywhere in the world singing. And I don't say any of this to like, listen, I'm just being honest with what he said. They could be anywhere in the world making music and doing things, but they're not. But when I look out and see the people in the world, they're committing suicide, they're living a terrible life, and he said, and that's not them. My brother and sister are helping people, and they're happy. And then he goes, and he said, in my family, no one else has stayed married, and I believe my brother-in-law and sister will stay married. Mm-hmm. So everything that the Lord showed me that I would struggle with, if I took that opportunity, 5 years later, my brother-in-law, who doesn't even go to church at the time, is looking at me and saying, this is why I know God has a plan, because you guys are following his will. And when I realized I was standing in the prayer room, in the spot where I'd had that conversation with God 5 years earlier.
Wow.
And so the Lord keeps you and protects you.
Yeah.
And so my testimony is when I said to the Lord, I want you to have your way with me. He said, okay, I'm going to do that. And it's not going to be easy all the time. It's there every day. I'm looking online and seeing that artist who's now one of the biggest Christian artists in the world. And I'm thinking, I could be there, and I don't know that I could. What I'm saying? I just like that temptation it's a struggle I have to fight with the rest of my life. But that's the testimony is that the Lord is faithful, and I'm constantly seeing him work in ways that I'm like, man, I'm so thankful I'm here. I'm so thankful I have an amazing church, an amazing family. I get to be a part of a community of believers. It's really cool being in that barbershop, getting to meet people like yourself. Like, hey, can you come to a Christian podcast? Like, I have met so many people in Southern Illinois in all the churches. I'm playing for a different church at a funeral tomorrow, like for another church in our region, getting to be a part of the body of Christ in my area, not my local church. Like, I find so much purpose in that. Yeah. And for a long time, I felt like I'd missed my purpose. So I guess my testimony is that the Lord has just kept me in my purpose. And
that's awesome.
Even on the days where I think, man, there could be so much more, the Lord consistently shows up and says, no, I got you right where I want you. And it just feels good. I'm like, I know this is where I'm supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people go through life not knowing where they're supposed to be. So I'm very thankful that I do, you know?
Yeah. Gives you kind of a sense of comfort, you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's still a struggle every day, but yeah, I just know the Lord's he's just with you, and you say, Lord, I want to follow you. He's like, okay. He takes you on that. And, you know, a lot of times we say it and we forget about it. And he's like, I didn't forget, you know, you said, you said you wanted to, you know, come to me. He's like, you're mine now. Like, you know, I bought you with a price.
Yeah.
And so, but you know what, being bought by the Lord is the best thing ever. Like it really is. So,
yeah. That's awesome.
Very powerful.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
So like, do you have any advice that you would give to people that are trying to get into music or something like that?
Oh gosh. Go watch YouTube videos. I mean, because they all have words of advice that are going to be good. No, I don't. Man, it's so hard. It's always funny. I taught lessons in college, and I was so bad at it because I was like, I don't remember how I learned. I was a kid. But
today's lesson, we're gonna watch a YouTube video.
I literally would have to teach myself the lessons before I taught them to someone else. But no, I would just, if you're wanting to get into music, this would honestly. So it's easier now than ever to get into music.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder now than ever to make it. So make your goal something else. I mean, make your goal something else, you know, whatever that is, you know, like, I mean, obviously as a believer and as a worship leader, like my goal is to impact the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and maybe someone's listening to this that's not a believer, you know. First of all, let me introduce you to Jesus.
Yeah.
But secondly, you know, find something that's not money related, that's not fame related. Like find a reason, find a why. Because if you don't have if that is your why, you know, like I remember saying like I just want Spotify to show 1,000 streams, and then I was like, oh, but I really want 10,000.
Notice how he says Spotify, not Apple.
Whatever.
You know, but like and like the more and more like the more and more you climb on that, you want the next.
Yeah.
And I was and it's like that in anything in life. I don't think that's just a musical goal. Like for your podcast, like what is the why? And if it's
that's good.
If it's fame, if it's money, like then it won't work.
Yeah.
If it's, you know, like Solomon asking for wisdom, all that stuff came with it.
Right.
You know, so there's that. And then I'd say technically, just go Mac and not PC. No, I'm just kidding. I just listen to a lot of, if you're a musician and you're wanting to jump into recording, it's easier now than ever. Get on Sweetwater, buy an interface. You know, you can run that from your phone now. Like, so, and just make, I mean, there's albums making tons of money right now that were made on someone's phone on GarageBand, you know? So, but yeah, other than that, just your why, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, honestly, like you were saying, it's for not just music, but for just about everything, you know. That's such a good thing. I've had to like ask myself that question sometimes, like with what I'm going to go into for my job. Like, why am I going into my job? Am I doing it for money? Because like you can make good money if you get higher up in the job I'm going into, and so I have to keep myself in the right track.
Right.
That it's not I'm not doing this for the money, but I'm doing this to impact the kingdom of God.
Right.
And that's I think just a struggle that a lot of people have. So.
I told him the guy told me, but I told him last week. He was talking about trust. He was a guy in my church. I remember him saying a long time ago, he said, and he was currently at this job. He's like, I work in a job that I went 15 years. He was a youth pastor. He put that aside. He worked at the church, put that aside because he thought he needed to ascend to this level of a job. He said, once I got there, I realized that's not what I wanted the whole time. I wasted 15 years. And now I make so much money, and I've built my whole life making that kind of money that I can't afford to not make it. And all I want to do is quit this job. And the Lord did work it out for him, and it's a really cool story. But I think a lot of times if we do it for that, you'll get trapped by it. Like you get to that level where you're just, you're like, you think that's what you want. And for those at the barbershop that listen, I always joke with them. I say, it's not about the journey, it's the destination. But it really is about the journey. Because once I just heard Sadie Robinson say on her podcast with John Crisp, she was saying, once you get done playing the stadiums, then you play the local shows, then you play the arenas, then you play the stadiums. Then where do you play? Yeah. Like it's never gonna satisfy, you know. So find something that satisfies, because if you don't, then when you get to that point, if this podcast becomes the biggest thing in the world, y'all are like Joe Rogan, see you later. Like if your why isn't real, then you're gonna be like, you're gonna want out and not be able to get out because you built a life on it. So I needed to hear that, and so I'd say that's something everybody needs to hear. Just make sure it's why you want to do it, so you don't get there and be like, I don't want this anymore. You know. Right. So
super good.
It is.
Well, Dustin, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Really do
It's been a blast.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it'd be cool to have you on again. Yeah, that'd be so
anytime.
Cool. Yeah.
Anytime.
We'll have to have your band play.
Hey, I said, I was like, they just want to hear me talk. And I actually don't want to hear my music. But
little backstory. When I was getting my haircut, I was telling him about the podcast, and he thought it was like, what did you thought it was just like skits and stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, great branding, by the way, because I was like, the stuff you were doing, I thought you guys were like a cooler Dude Perfect or something, like doing crazy
Dude Perfect,
like just some of the stuff. I was like, oh, this is great. So I thought we were like doing just like funny skits, and I was like, yeah, sign me up. I want to.
Hey, we still can.
Yeah, definitely. I like to talk though, so as you've heard,
we like that you like to talk.
He's like, that's why I had 3 questions. It's like everybody else gets 7. You get 3. It's awesome.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, man. Yeah. But no, it was really good to have you on. Yeah, I really do appreciate it. So
absolutely.
You're such a cool dude. It's really awesome just hear your testimony and your story. So.
It's his story, man.
Yeah.
Just living in it.
Glory to God.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. Man, we appreciate it.
Yep.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Oh yeah.
We got a lot coming at it. We hit episode 10, baby.
That's crazy. Yeah, this is
episode 10.
This
10.
one?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh. I feel so privileged.
Our first episode, we talked about how there's a stat out there that a lot of people don't make it past 10 episodes when they start a podcast.
That's it.
Yeah.
Our friends doubted us.
We
knew it.
Hey,
and we
I
made
never doubted you.
Thank you.
Never.
Thank you.
That's why I begged to be on. Just kidding.
That's awesome.
But kind of.
But yeah, no. So, this is episode 10. This is just crazy.
Dude, congratulations.
Thank you.
Give it up for these guys.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Wish I had one of those machines that you press a button, all the claps.
Post-production.
Yeah.
Post-production.
Yep.
We'll put it in there.
But guys, stay tuned. We got a lot coming at you.
Oh, yeah.
So excited for the future. Thanks for all the support you've been showing.
Yeah,
it's been amazing. We're having a great time.
Yeah. Hope you guys are liking our reels and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You got a lot more.
Amen, brother. So hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Make sure to keep it 100.